Hi, I'm Ginny Caughey. I have over 40 years experience building software for various enterprises and consumers.
My name is Kunal and I'm a student developer from India. I have around 3 years of development experience. What got you interested in development in the first place?
That's really a funny question because I never started out thinking that I would do software. The college offered its very first computer programming course, as it was called, and it was a part of the math department back then. Computer science as a department didn't come along until quite a bit later. I took the course, which was based on mainly assembly language programming for the IBM 360 computers. And I just thought it was so easy. I mean, just so easy and a lot of fun. And I decided that looked like an interesting career. So, Kunal, how did you get interested in open source? What excites you about that?
Why I started contributing to open source was to give back to the community. So I still remember when I first started contributing to open source, it was in my freshman year. What excites me about it is that getting the first PR merged and knowing that the code that you are writing is actually being used by so many people, it gives a sense of motivation that okay, that I am contributing towards the society. I'm doing something. My code is being used somewhere. In addition to that, from a student's point of view, I believe open source is a really great way to get real world software development experience. How do you stay in contact with the development community?
It's been particularly challenging during the past year because one of my favorite ways to stay in contact with other developers who work on the same technology that I do is in person by going to conferences, Microsoft conferences in particular. But I stay in contact with them now through Twitter. I'm very active on Twitter, and I've found it's a great way to have conversations with people, ask questions, answer questions.
I made a lot of new connections on Twitter during the pandemic. I also miss in person events. From the past 40 years, the tech stacks have changed drastically, right? So, how do you cope up with all these changing technologies? Because change is inevitable in tech, right? And I would love to get your perspective on this. Like, how do you stay up to date with the development world?
It's been a lot of years for me and a lot of changes. I think a lot of it is a case of luck. After I had started work in software development, I retired to have children. And when I started back to work 10 years later, the PC era had just begun. So I was able to get in on the ground floor with that and explore it. I purchased one. I mean, it seems like such an everyday thing. Oh, you just purchase a computer. But remember, the first computers I worked with, they were so expensive that enterprises couldn't purchase them. They rented them. They rented them by the hour. It was really hard initially, but I finally found some old news groups that I could talk to other human beings who were also learning everything they could about it. So we had conversations. We didn't have open source back then, but we shared code with each other. So it kind of came to the same thing. And I just sort of moved from there, listening to other people, hearing what they're excited about and sharing what I found, what I'm excited about. So it's mainly about talking. Well, let me ask you something else because you're more tuned into what the people in your generation are doing than I am. How did you end up in the Microsoft world, really? Because at the university here, the focus is more Linux based, for example.
I love exploring new tech. So when I was doing like cloud, I was exploring various domains. I got a chance to get some hands on with Microsoft Azure, and over there I was introduced to the Microsoft Student Ambassadors community, which is now known as the Microsoft Learn Student Ambassadors. I saw the mission of Microsoft for the first time over there, which is empower every developer and every organization in the world to achieve more. And I was really fascinated by that, and I was really motivated by that. I'm really glad that I am selected as one of the gold MLSAs for the India region, and as a gold MLSA we are getting support from the Microsoft MVPs and other program managers, not just from India but from around the world. I would also love to hear how your journey has been with Microsoft and how you got involved in it.
That was when I first started with the PCs many years ago. There was actually a choice back then. You could either choose CP/M or DOS as the operating system. I ended up buying an IBM PC, but it wasn't the only choice that I had to make. And so that put me pretty squarely in the Microsoft world, where I've been ever since.
What is the biggest lesson that you have learned while starting your business?
Well, I would definitely say that listening to customers is the most important thing that I've learned. Uh, it's an easy thing to say, but it's hard to actually put yourself in the customer's position if you've never worked in the kind of industry they're in. To be successful in selling software to someone, it has to meet their actual needs. And in order to build something that meets their needs, you have to know exactly what is it they're trying to accomplish. And although that seems like an easy question to ask, it's not always a very easy question to answer.
We talk about like selling software and making sure it's meeting the customer's need, which is really important. But there's often this term as well, like maintaining the software.
Really good software is never done. It constantly needs to evolve, not only for bug fixes or new customer requirements, which come about by changes that are often beyond their control, but also the software you build needs to adapt to be able to take advantage of advances in technology. What would be your advice for a student who's just starting?
I believe it's really, really important to find what your passion is. Your particular niche is really important. One way to do that is exploring various domains of technologies. Apply whatever you're learning. Now that can be in many ways. You can write a blog. You can conduct a workshop. Let's say you can teach your friends. You can make a small project, or your personal projects, showcase on your portfolio, or you can contribute to open source. Why is this important? Because if you're learning and you're not getting any outcome, that might become demotivating at a point of time, because you will be like, I am learning web development for the past 6 months, but I'm not getting any outcomes in my career. So you're probably not getting an outcome because you're actually like not applying whatever you're learning.
And I can barely even remember when I started out. The main thing for me that I would pass along to the next generation is to be open-minded and to constantly be learning, and not to think that you know how everything is right out of the bat. I looking back, I think I was probably terribly arrogant.
Yeah, I totally agree. I was watching a webinar by there was an interview of Satya Nadella, and the interviewer asked, what are your views on like how do you conduct a good meeting? So I was really inspired by what he replied. He said, "Listen more, talk less, and be decisive when the time comes." So I believe that was really inspiring as well. So yeah, I totally agree with you.
Well, thanks, Kunal. It's always great to talk to young people who are excited about software, and you certainly fit that bill. And I wish you all the best of luck. I know you're going to be very, very successful.
Thanks a lot, Ginny. It was really amazing talking to you, and thanks a lot for sharing your insights. Thanks a lot for having me.